on them. So NIP, maybe an angle of attack there.
Well, we'll see what angle attack both teams take as we're heading to the picks and bans for game number 1. We got NIP versus OMG. NIP on the blue side will ban away the Cassante and
the
Shanji's
Rumble.
and the Aphelios. We also get the OMG bans of the Yuumi, the Melio, and the Nico. All 3 hyper meta bans.
NIP have finally succumbed to Shanji's champion pool of that top side. RNG, they discovered what Shanji's Rumble could do in Game 3 of their series loss to OMG. Shanji, I think of the players on OMG that could make a home anywhere in the LPL, I think it's probably Shanji that could do that above anyone else. What a champion pool guy this guy has. What a level of play he has as well. Have to see what he has in the back pocket though. Vi can be locked in first, very consistent, very high band jungler as well. But on the other side, we have the Zeri potentially with a Lulu being paired up next.
Yeah, I will shout out Shanji with the hovers there. Talon, obviously, something Aki has played a lot. Aki is actually a super big assassin jungler in the past, but it has been at all meta. We've seen him play the Zeds, things like that. But we also had the Abel Samira hover there. So some friendship bonds maybe, but it's straight back to what they have found comfort with before. If the Zeri is open, you grab it for Abel. If the Ahri is open, you grab it for Cream.
It's also a takeaway from the Ahri-Vi combination for NIP, which is, of course, premier Ahri combination in the game. Now, we did see RNG leave a Zeri Yuumi open in one game versus OMG. They probably shouldn't have done that. We've seen a couple of teams try and take down the Zeri with the Lucian Nami. You're expecting the Lulu to come in as well, which is still a very good laning duo, despite the fact that you've had a lot of changes to Zeri, and there are more coming, of course. For now, wait, actually, no, it's the new patch that's come in today. That means
it was,
that,
yeah,
that
we
mean
went
that
to 3.11 yesterday.
Now, I'm going to have to check. I need to remember whether that's the Sheen changes or not. I can't remember off the top of my head, because that is obviously a huge change to the Zeri if that does come through. Of course, they still have all the crit builds available to them, but the Bruiser Zeri, very, very strong if that one is available. Second round bounce coming through, though, and Aki going to have to dig a little bit deeper into that jungle champion pool.
Yeah, I think some obvious focus needed here in the second phase by NIP. They already have their jungle matchup. They have a lot of setup there. They will also have a lot of aggression through bot lane, and maybe that tips the hat to where NIP are going to be focusing. But we also have a bit of a response in aggression where I kind of expected this, right? I do not expect either one of these junglers to back down. We get the Vi versus Viego matchup now.
So, double resets coming in from OMG. This was the combination of the Ahri Viego that we saw very much so in spring of last year. This is a big RNG combination.
Oh, there we go.
On the other side. Angels TF, that is such a classic pick for him as well. And it's a topside-centric draft. You cannot afford to get caught out of position on the map now with OMG. That TF, that Jax, if they get to shove and roam, they're going to be a deadly combo.
Truly is his 4th most played and sitting at almost a 60% win rate on the champion itself. A lot of mobility out of mid lane. That's exactly what we were calling for both these two teams. It's kind of like we set the stakes a little bit. That Jax, though, for Invincible will be really nice for NIP to play around. But this is a no-holds-bar draft from NIP. They need to find aggression, they need to find picks, and they need to do it as soon as they hit that level 6 mark. And on the other side, you have a lot of stability, a lot of sustainability as well, and now that the Scion for Shanji has come through.
NIP at the 1-item mark, become Exodia, but they have to try and end the game at that point, because if you end up not getting yourself a significant lead at that 1-item mark, and you make a mistake into the Zeri, into the Ahri Viego resets, particularly when it's being enabled by a champion that's very hard to dive in that Scion. Typically, you with the TF, you want to be diving sideline. Scion makes that a little bit hard. It has a lot of wave clear. Even if you kill him, he gets to clear out the wave afterwards. OMG, they have loads of slapback potential to NIP's really proactive, aggressive draft.
So as we get into it, we had already stated how volatile this mid lane can be, but now that we see the kind of setup for jungle, I expect that mid lane to influence the jungle skirmishes very, very heavily. But that is all eyes for me early on, is where these paths for Shadow and Aki are going to be, how the cohesion between the two jungle and mid synergies is going to look like, and that if Fodak and Zhuo can get anything in this 2v2, because we've seen what happens when a Zeri makes it past 25 minutes. There is a timer, it feels like, to some extent. And yes, Lucian, LPL, they scale together, but it's still a Zeri that you have to be careful for. And we're going to be getting into game 1 now. I specifically think that early on, it's going to be a little bit of this skirmish down towards bottom lane, maybe some bottom lane pathing here for both sides as well. And we're going to be kicking off game 1 very, very shortly here, Nymera.
Onto the Rift we go. Looking at these champions heading onto the Rift themselves. I think you're absolutely right talking about that Lucian. It does scale a little bit better in the LPL than it does elsewhere in the world. We play around our power spikes here incredibly effectively, but it needs to be even more so in this game. You let that pressure slip for one moment, maybe OMG slipped the net with it.
Yeah, the Gyos ring in the home arena of NIP in Shenzhen. Got some OMG signs. Let's go. Some OMG fandom coming alive here.
Can I just say, shout out for Aki bringing the GAM Esports logo in there as well. If you want to have the early pressure games, talking about the VCS, the perennial champions there, that's a good way to approach the mindset of this game.
Pretty good approach. But as we look at that approach, I will say, I know it's a completely different level of play, but I've been covering an ACL this week for the opening week, and we actually have seen a pretty heavy prevalence of TF from more of our mobile mid laners. And I do wonder, there's a couple ways you can go. Obviously, the utility focused build or something with a little bit more damage oriented, but I actually see utility being pretty useful here for Angel and to set up the rest of the team.
I mean, you have 2/2.5 damage source on your team. The Vi kind of counts a little bit, depending on the build that you go, depending if it's Righteous Glory or more Black Cleaver-oriented first item. But that TF will really be good at kind of pinning people down for the subsequent follow-up and damage. So you're absolutely right. That will be a fact to take into account. OMG,
hey, look at
they're
that.
not really a team that... Man, that's...
it was Angel the last time we saw it. It was 113 days ago.
I was like 2023 LPL. I was like, oh yeah. That's this year. That's not like the Cho'Gath top or whatever we saw. We've seen a couple of champions come out for the first time last couple of splits as well. We've been revisiting some classics, but Aki making sure that Shadow isn't able to just walk through. One of the reasons why Viego has come back into prominence is the ability to bully out from very early levels against a lot of the meta junglers.
And it's literally the script we expected. Aggression through these junglers is so important, and Aki taking the forward foot on that, forcing the hand of Shadow, who will now have to have a very awkward pathing, maybe even looking at some vertical jungling here, but Aki has the decision-making power, right? He can try to cut off Shadow's vertical jungling and get this priority on the bottom side.
So Aki takes away 2 camps on top side, has the ward on this bot side, knows that Shadow has taken the Raptors and then probably left to the top side. So Aki is completely just snowballing and wrecking ball through the enemy jungle. Shadow's trying to get himself onto... He's trying to get himself onto a half of Aki's camp so he can at least get some of that farm back. He just needs to be somewhere that this Viego isn't. Cannot afford to run into Aki right now.
I actually really appreciate this from Shadow. Just cut the losses, realize you've got it. Oh no, Aki's like, dude, the mind games right now in the jungle is awesome. I love this. You got Shadow's like trying to give up. He's like, okay, I'm going to the top side. Aki's like, no, you're not getting away from me this early, all right? I'm gonna find aggression and you are gonna like it. As he's gonna find red buff fight over here. It was secured and Shadow makes it out like the sneaky bandit he is.
So Cream could have first move here. I think Q will be up there unless Aki's just flashed onto him in top jungle.
Oh, we did get a little bit of a 2v2 start down here. Photic a little bit low. There's the heal from Zhuo. And blocking a lot of that damage from Abel.
Aki blows the flash in that top side. Doesn't manage to catch Shadow, and Cream isn't early enough on the roam to finish off that Vi kill. It's still going to be Aki kind of just battle warding his way and bullying out Shadow from wherever he wants to on the map. Might be able to get a double scuttle instead. It's going to go towards the crop. Wait, we're actually at the point.
For something,
Aki has taken 2 enemy camps. He will have taken more enemy camps than his own by the time he's finished this crop.
He's still got the level 1 spawns of the bot side completely there. This is actually incredible. And Shadow at this point is just pulling all the emergency levers he possibly can. He's like, there's something on this
Shadow,
map that can go my way, but they don't know that Aki says no. As he comes forward, Invincible immediately backs off. Luckily, I'd saved that leap strike. But Aki is everywhere in the nightmares at this point of Shadow.
Do such a great job of just making sure that Shadow could do absolutely nothing. And when you consider NIP's comp, they want to hit level 6 on their jungle and their mid lane very early and start comboing up with them to great success. If Shadow is behind in XP and in terms of that first item completion as well, NIP's snowball potential through the mid jungle combo is severely affected.
And we see Aki now going to redeploy out on the bottom side of the map. The aggression from Photic and Zhuo wasn't really able to lend much in the 2v2 now, so bot lane is stable, and OMG can continuously play on this front foot that they set themselves up for through Aki.
Now, we get ourselves a reprieve as junglers have, in fact, based for the first time. So they managed to keep themselves away from each other a little bit. Just that they had a gentleman's agreement to not completely beat each other over the head just yet.
Nice little setup.
Though.
Don't even have level 6 yet. They got the setup in mid lane. No! The Spirit Rush from Cream. The level difference in Dwo wasn't there fast enough.
Not quite. It's still the ult away from Cream, which does mean now that that ultimate is down, if Cream were to push up in the next couple of minutes while that ult is still on cooldown, you might be able to get in there with your flashes and your ultimates coming up from the mid jungle of NIP. So it's kind of like the first of a multi-step plan. You need to hem back OMG's mid jungle, which of course they've been using well in this early game, to push in mid lane and duel in jungle.
All right, we got the first step in the multi-part plan. What time frame are we looking at? Is this a 2-year plan? Is this a 3-year plan? Maybe condense it down to minutes. If a game lasts
for 2 years, I hate to tell you this, you're probably playing like D&D instead of League of Legends, which is, you know, great, awesome stuff. I support that, but like maybe not what you want to be doing in the LPL.
It's like playing chess versus playing checkers, but you do need a little bit.
I don't know if you're taking 2 years in a chess game as well. That's probably also not great.
Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna talk about my chess skills right now. All right, that's not a thing I have to talk about. You're not gonna pressure me into this, Nightmare. And we're gonna look at this 2v2 right now because that's what I want to focus on. As actually nice little bubble connects, but I do again want to go back to that conversation we were talking about in draft where Abel on the Zeri is the Zeri, but it is specifically a very heavy scaling champion. Need to have pressure down to this bottom lane. But they actually want to try to put a focus on mid lane. Going to get a gank from Invincible and the Destiny pulled from Angel, who's going to try to join over here on the fight to Aki. Aki doesn't have ulti, but does make it out through his Shroud. And it's NIP back on the map, wanting to get active. But again, I want to see them focus down towards bottom side.
And you've used your first CF ult. That's a long cooldown. You've used it to blow a flash in mid lane, and that is it. I think OMG, they walk away from this feeling pretty happy about things, because you're absolutely right. Zeri has not been affected by all of this. They are completely chilling in bot side. OMG, one of the key things that they needed to do in their multi-step plan is not die to the first CF ult.
I actually see Angel moving out from mid lane, even without the ulti, just trying to be active. And this is kind of still, again, the game plan here. When they can get the roam timers, get out of mid lane. But with the Rift Herald spawning specifically, I think priority in mid lane is going to become even more key now. And we need to see both Shadow and Aki hit this level 6 mark.
Actually not going to hit by that Q. He's not alone, actually. Aki's here, so is Cream. He has the Spirit Rush too.
Oh no, Invincible. We'll get that Counter-Strike back. Got the Unstoppable Onslaught used by Shanji there, but this means that OMG have full prio on the Rift Herald.
Closer on stuff. Shanji looking for the knock-up, even just the mini one from short distance into Invincible. Also managed to buffer himself through that Counter-Strike CC. OMG, they will be able to bully out around this top side Rift Herald, though. You're absolutely right, because there is no Vialt at this point in the game. Part of the early game bullying from Aki means that the level 6 is hit from the Viego before the Vi, can't commit to that fight, and of course Angel has already used his ult. So OMG, again, you have to really consider this again. They are coming away from this early game much better than I think we should have predicted them to have.
And keeping stabilization is actually the way that OMG can find a lot of those kind of later game mechanical outplays, right? And while Cream versus Angel hasn't been kind of the volatile setup that we were maybe looking for, I think they will become increasingly important now that we are going to be getting Angel's ultimate back online. We will have the Spirit Rush available from Cream outside of mid lane is where I'm looking at. Now that First Dragon did go over to NIP in that whole trade.
One thing which I do want to note as well is kind of coming through to the next TF ult, which will be up soon. You got the level 6 coming from Shadow as well, so first Vial to the game coming through. Cream decided to go for the Electrocute on the Ori rather than something like a Spellbook against a lot of the CC from NIP, particularly just the gold card, really, and the Counter-Strike. Actually having the Cleanse from the Spellbook may have made it a bit more of a safe ordeal in this mid lane. Interested to see if he'll go towards Mercury Treads instead. We have seen some REs kind of opt to go towards the early game bully potential of the Electrocute and then pick up some tenacity elsewhere in the runes if you feel like you're under threat from that point and click CC. Of course, I mean, you can't cleanse a Vial, so maybe you think, oh well, I'm getting CC'd anyway. Not really the thing which I want to be paying attention to. Actually, on this back, he does get those Merc Treads. So Cream used that early game potential well, and now he has himself those Merc Treads to protect himself against the gold card.
They're actually all looking at mid lane right now for OMG. They have that Rift Herald in tow for Aki, just trying to find a place to use it as that timer will be coming up very shortly. Pretty heavy trades in top side of the map right now, but no love given that way. He did have a roam out from PP God on that timer in bottom lane, but maybe looking to get back there as the 2v2 will still be important down there. If you overstep one moment, this Lucian Nami will punish you heavily, but Aki has been hovering this mid lane for a long time.
I think particularly with the level 6 coming out from Shadow, you just have to be aware of that. The first kill coming down in this combo between the mid jungles is going to have a huge amount of weight. If you kill one of the Ahri or the Viego, they lose one of the champions, which could reset. If you die, you give them the reset. Not really what you want to do. We do have Shadow, though, with that ult, and Aki is not here to respond right now. Angel, of course, does have his ult. Even if you sat in one of these control-warded brushes, he can just pop ult and see you. That gives the vision for Vi to press the ult on you after that point. So OMG, again, need to be on defensive mode right now. I know it's not something they like doing. They like to be on the aggressive, but they have to pay a lot of attention to what Angel could do with his ult.
And I think I still harken back to the fact that this is such a comfort champion for Angel. It's something that we've seen kind of start propping up in 13-11, and that, again, mindset of trying to join up in the 2v2 has been so consistent for NIP, and that's, again, where I feel like we've seen the brightest points of them so far this split.
I think going back to some comfort, some iconic champions for them, that's some way to potentially punch up in one of these matchups as well. Feels like, even though it's a 3-2 team versus a 2-2 team, bears reminding as well, OMG's 2 series losses were versus JDG and BLG, you know, our 2 best teams in the league. That 2-2 is not indicative of how good OMG are. And NIP, despite them picking up their 3 wins as well, and that is a big thing, I definitely consider this a hard matchup for them. What can they do with this, though? Gold card used under turret, no CC left now. 3 plays can be taken in this mid lane, all in all. And that's going to be towards the playmaker mid-jungle duo of Aki and Cream.
Wow, that's pretty huge, actually. Get some nice gold over to this duo. I will say, though, Shadow has done a pretty good job of getting back into the fold of this jungle matchup. He was down like 30 CS earlier on, but able to get the clears coming through for him now. So kind of evening that up to where now there's really only this 500 gold lead for OMG. Nothing too big to play on, but this is still comfort for them. Their game plan is to make it through this aggressive early game, use Aki as a bridge, and have Abel carry the rest of the game.
Demolish is such a fun rune, isn't it? Shanji walks up to the tower for like 1 time in this game, almost takes 2 plates. This rune is just incredible. I actually really enjoy playing it. I actually really enjoy playing it in mid lane as well, particularly if you're against something like a Katarina or a Fizz, which you know is just never going to be in lane. They leave lane once, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to take, you know, 3 plates in my own right. It can be a pretty fun way to deal with those champions. Speaking of that, Cream is actually going to be shoving in at this point, but remember, Angel still has that ultimate. Every time the TF is on a reset, might just be sacking a cannon wave. Doesn't even matter if you lose a couple of plates from that to go snowball the rest of the map. I think that's also why it's quite important that the Herald did come into mid lane from OMG, though, because if you take the mid lane out of turret away from the TF, or you put it down to low HP, feels like they're just trapped a little bit more in that lane, and they can't be quite so active on the map.
Well, we're going to need some activity here in about 40 seconds if NIP want to continue stacking this up and playing to their win condition, to be fair. I think now with those first items coming across for OMG, it's going to be a little bit harder. You're going to want to try to get those completions before you go up to this fight. You get the Everfrost for Angel, so going with some more of that utility here for himself, but it will be all eyes on how quickly they can get this vision set up and move around this Dragon Pit, because OMG are already there.
Yeah, so Everfrost and TF has kind of been the standard power spike for TF for a very long time now. The Everfrost, like rapid fire, and then something like a Lichbane or a Zhonya is one of the 2. Kind of rounds out your build. But in the game like this, actually getting on top of someone to use an Everfrost is really kind of awkward. You really are just wanting to jump into a side lane and catch them out of position. Because if you're at Everfrost range of an Ahri, a Viego, and a Sion, I hate to break it to you, that's a pretty dangerous place to be in. So Angel going to have to pilot that one effectively in team fights. If it comes down to those team fight engages, though, from Angel, it's going to be a pretty difficult ordeal for NIP. Again, they would have loved to snowball. They haven't done that.
Yeah. Is this where I get to say I would have liked to see the static shiv build come through? Just see some fun. But that Everfrost will be important later on. That's what we've been seeing, at least at an ACL. But I like the
honestly,
Everfrost too.
I would love to see that.
Stable.
We'll chat about that after this Dragon, because we're probably getting a fight like right now.
Oh, they're going to use the season assist immediately here. The tidal wave following it up. Angel goes all in and all ham, but can't find anything. Cream has already popped that Spirit Rush. But OMG get out with their life, having burned a couple ultis and a couple summoner spells.
And considering he's one of our most aggressive AD carries in the league, Abel is just completely chilling. He's not there. He's just under bot lane turret getting waves like, yeah, my team's gonna be fine, don't worry about it, I'm sure they can handle it. And they do. Abel gets his first item completion and NIP. They blow their ultimates again. They still haven't found a kill in the first 15 minutes of the game with a comp which really wants those first ults to make to get value out of themselves. And now the Zeri's starting to come online. OMG, they're being rewarded for their good defensive play.
How did we get here? I feel like we just looked at a mirror and saw the reflection of OMG about to die. They just said, no, I don't want that reflection. They just took the dragon. NIP did back away in the end, not feeling confident to step up on that one.
They used 4 ultimates to no avail. If you don't use them, and you have the AD carry coming back from base from their own first combo as well, things get really awkward after that point. Angel now moving into the side lane now. That opens up some different lane assignments. Of course, we were talking about how OMG are already going to force down the mid lane turret to very low HP. You need someone stationed there at all times if you want to keep that tower available. Shadow has his ultimate back up again though for this second Herald. Angel doesn't have his ult just yet, and again, that's a big thing to be keeping an eye on.
It's interesting to see that OMG are actually willing to kind of contest now, even though we said they're playing a lot reserved. They got the Trinity Force now for Abel. They feel like maybe a 5v5 is in order. They're going to be bringing down Cream from the top side, but Angel has TP'd, and it should be actually that completion there by NIP, and they actually, Photic, I was going to say make it out alive, but they can't even see Photic there. Will end up making it out over the wall with a nice blast cone, but that will also be first turret traded over for OMG.
And its first mid lane turret as well. Angel now going to be sat in the side lane, and no one's coming to help him right now. Aki's here. The wave luckily not being pushed in just yet. Angel should be safe, but the fact that Angel has not been able to be proactive...
No.
Yeah, I take it back. He's not safe.
Oh, yeah, he ain't safe, and he's walking right into the jaws of Abel. The slowdown actually connected, but Aki can't get the damage back. Throws up the question mark frog. It'll still be another tower to OMG, though.
It will be. And again, this is a combo from NIP that needs to be snowballing the map, taking side lane turrets and snowballing the game. They have lost 2 turrets in a row. They're down 2,000 gold at the 17-minute mark. And this game doesn't get easier for them as it goes on. TF is not going to be a significant damage source compared to many other mid laners in the meta. And this Zeri, if they're not shut down in these team fights, they're just going to absolutely run rampant.
And now you just have PP God on constant roaming here with Aki. And the combo really, really scary at that point, but also Abel out of mid lane is good, just have that range advantage over Photic. And I think it's now up to Photic to really show us what the LPL Lucians are all about. Trying to get to that level 11 mark, but specifically trying to weave a lot of these fights. You were talking about the range advantage that OMG have in these kind of situations. And I think it's going to be up to NIP, even without the advantage they maybe wanted, to try to pick apart some of these fights in some extent, because they do still have a lot of single target damage and pick out.
They do. So we're also closing in on Act 2 of the LPL, which is the 20-minute mark when the Baron spawns. Make a mistake in probably about a minute's time, maybe about a minute and 15 seconds, just as the Baron starts to spawn. Then NIP could really look for something. They're going a little earlier than that, though.
There we go. There's that point and click, though. You're looking for the lockdown, and they find it on a PP God. It's going to be Angel that picks up that kill, and NIP with the decisive play makes something happen. 19 minutes in, we finally got our first blood.
But for me, honestly, this is a little too early for NIP. You needed to save those ults for around that Baron spawn. You're going to get control of this mid lane turret. That's actually going to be pretty big. Maybe I'll take that one back. It's a big objective to get. OMG clearing out the wave, though. They'll be able to get back onto the map soon.
Just insane to me that 19 minutes took. It took 19 minutes to get first blood here. Our second charge goes off. So much worth from NIP off of a quick succession of plays.
Thing is, though, right, because you make that play, and you've used, again, most of your ultimates to make it happen. Great that you've opened up that mid lane turret, but if you don't have those tools now to make a play as the Baron is up and OMG gets to threaten you around that objective, then you start questioning the value of this play. Getting the kill onto PP God, sure, very easy to take down. One of the ways you deal with enchanters is say, well, you can save other people, but can you save yourself? No, you can't in this case. Too much single target damage. Back out onto the map now, though. See if OMG have themselves any answers while those ults are still down, and the Baron is just spawning.
I will say that gold lead that OMG had accrued is cut away. And while they've been 1-1 in objectives so far across the table, We do want to see now renewed focus towards this dragon, as it's NIP seemingly will have first move out of mid lane.
Okay, and with their own items starting to get built as well. I mean, you were just asking before that last play. Okay, Photic, draw. Let's see what we can do with the Lucian Nami. This is a big moment for you to show up. You've reached your 2 items down on Lucian. The rapid fire cannon coming through alongside that Gale Force. You have yourself a lot of that upfront early 2 item spike. You don't have every ability to fight against this Scion just yet.
Oh man, that was very close to being a bad situation. The flash did have to get burned though by Jwo, and now it's actually OMG who will start up the dragon and force the hand of NIP.
Invincible takes down bot side turret,
Look at
has
the
himself a flank angle, has himself a flash as well. Okay, OMG, you gotta be prepared for
He's
this.
been seen. They got lightning crashing. Abel, he's so low. The wild growth right on the back line goes invincible. As Photic is taking down Aki, he's focusing him down at NIP. They're mechanically outplaying OMG right now. They just picked apart a fight that OMG wanted to take.
OMG, they let the flank come in. They know that the bot lane turret has fallen. It's likely that Jax is coming through, and Abel gets absolutely blasted. And now NIP get them to have themselves the Baron as the payment for their mechanical outplays, for their macro outplays. They hit their power spikes, they hit OMG in the face, walking away with the Baron. OMG still haven't got themselves a kill to their name.
Yeah, you said it at the beginning. One item, it's Exodia. Well, they hit one item, and that big old Titan came in and smashed down on OMG. But they have to continue this momentum. You're hitting those big spikes, those 2 items. It really, truly is about the pick-out potential. And you're getting to those 3rd items as well, and you got to continue to have Shadow set up a play, Angel follow through. If Photic can get the damage down, that's huge. But have Invincible on these back lane plays.
Okay, OMG going to go back towards this dragon now, though. Ultimate's coming back up for NIP. They're going to have the Viol again in a couple of seconds. That's the TF ult as well. Where are they going with this? Jax does have to teleport into the play.
You got about 4,000 health left. There's that TP coming down. Should be body blocked by Shanji and Ko. Trying to catch out Aki, but they're just going to turn. Dragon resetting now. NIP will sacrifice Invincible's life. No, Invincible makes it out. Now Cream is overextended. Cream, you can't do that, brother! As he's just down. A big mobile piece is gone. And Shanji, you ain't that mobile either, bud. As that is a Jwo kill, but 2 quick ones for NIP.
OMG getting caught up in the pace of the game. They go towards this dragon a number of times, and Cream tries to get the first reset of the game for his jungler, for himself as well, but jumps straight into the secondary engage. And now NIP with the Baron, with a couple of kills, they can push down and take an in-hit, baby.
Man, it coming into this one, I was like, okay, timer there for NIP. OMG, you're looking really sustainable. You're looking good. They were playing so good early on, but NIP, they just decided, I want to go fast and hit the pedal to the metal here. And it was that kind of compositional strength we highlighted so much that's coming to fruition for them.
So going back into this replay, see that OMG, they started this dragon, they wanted to try and burst it down. They don't get the timing right, and they can't quite CC down Invincible either. If this is a kill very early on, you get a reset. Maybe you can look towards something. But as soon as the tidal wave comes in, the rest of the team is separated from Cream. Cream doesn't press his Zhonya's either, doesn't find a timing to do that, so he gets soloed out. OMG, they can't fight a fighting retreat after this point either. Too many people have died.
The amount of lockdown you can have just by chaining a couple things together with the comp of NIP is really starting to show itself. And while I do expect the team fight to get a little bit more stable for OMG here on out, it just feels like they're reeling at this point.
And now you have to ask yourself, you know, where does the damage come from OMG? It is basically just all on Abel. And now that you are behind the game against a combo where Angel has found himself a Magi Soul Stealer in inventory as well, NIP, they have themselves the confidence, they have themselves the playmaking to really shut down what OMG are doing. It is all on Abel to find some space to take down some kills in return, but now with a significant gold lead against them, OMG, they're going to struggle to play as defensively as they've done in the rest of this game.
It also just feels bad to have 5 kills to 0, but also just 1 kill or 1 death for every member of OMG. I feel like the stakes have just turned their fates on OMG in this one. But nice little defense at the top side tier 2. Still needing to fix the leaky sieve that is mid lane with those super minions barreling down. And with that extra distraction, NIP should be able to burst down this tier 2 up here.
And while all this is happening as well, Invincible is on bot side. Doesn't have teleport though. Maybe OMG could have found a window to engage, but as you said, they have to answer too many different lanes. NIP not under threat of a 5v4 fight at that point, and Invincible, because they see OMG spread across the map, we'll be able to take an inner turret, keep racking up that gold lead, keep pushing OMG further back into their side of the map.
Wow. So Invincible getting a lot of worth here. And for a guy, I feel like, who has had that kind of roller coaster season so far, we've seen him step up to the big table tanks or the big tabletop laners of the LPL. We've also seen him in this split specifically have some very lackluster performances. But now on the Jax with the Zanya's Divine Sunder combo, it's looking pretty good as a side lane threat and something that OMG really don't have answers to.
No, they don't. So OMG, they found themselves in a number of difficult positions in games that they've managed to team fight their way out of before, but this game, they've really been struggling to do those team fights we were just mentioning, because they've just been out-executed on. They've been very hasty at getting towards objectives, trying to burst down the objective to give themselves a kind of an extra window of time within the game, take a Dragon so NIP can't roll over to a Infernal Soul at some point, but they need to really start finding a way to unlock their carries, maybe get one reset for Aki so we can finally participate in the game besides those early invades. OMG, really got to start racking their heads.
Do indeed, but right now they're just starting to rack up Abel's gold, trying to get to that 3-item mark for him. To some extent, that could stop a little bit of the bleeding, but is it going to be enough? Because Phoenix is already on his 3 items here as well.
I would like you to step into your mind's eye and view the red side base as the fortress of Helm's Deep, because they really are looking to the east on the dawn of the 5th day, and they're looking towards the lawnmower. They're just like over the hill. It's not the Riders of the Rohirrim. It's just Abel with 3 items and just revving up the lawnmower. Right. That's what they're looking for right now.
Well, my real conversation then becomes who's the orc that's carrying the bomb and who's the sewage pipe.
Hang on, I'll have you know that's
where the real conversation becomes, Nightmare.
I'm trying to think. Surely it has to be Shadow just pressing ult on someone and flying into the backline. Surely
How about we're all bombs and we're all sewage pipes?
Man. Well, here he goes. Trying to blow up in the fortress.
See if they can get it in. The bomb cart has started to run away from the fortress, but we'll actually see OMG trying to move out of their base a little bit and try to at least get a little bit of stable ground. They still have Invincible in the side lane, and that's setting themselves up for a dangerous flank.
It is an Invincible really threatening the base. OMG, they are running out of time. Here goes Zion.
They're just going to go in for it. Invincible's looking to end the game right now. All NIP need to do is buy time and survive. That's a inhib tower down at the bottom lane, and OMG are starting to scramble. Yeah, Destiny popped here, and Shadow moving forward. They're going to engage. They get a nice little one onto the mid oh my god, that Everfrost was so big, and Invincible comes in on the flank now as well. You got Cream going down to Phoenix, and it's just a pick apart session from NIP, and it's OMG will not be put back together this time. An amalgamation of NIP's carry and 1 kill to OMG has led to a 28-minute dominating performance from NIP, and they're now looking at the Baron.
Oh, but they can't take down Abel. They can't take down the lawnmower. He hasn't even finished his 3 items. Dangerous moment there from NIP. Even though they win the fight, they've managed to disengage a number of times. They still come out the winners of that play, but there were some dangerous signs because Abel actually got to free fire. OMG, they're going to have themselves at least 1 more fight in this game. They're going to be a little bit further behind in gold. They're going to be against another stack of that Baron as well. But this is how they tried to go about breaking this chokehold that NIP have on the map with the winning side lanes. Cream, he has forever been such an important playmaker for NIP, but it's a difficult job in this game. Lots of mobility on the primary target that he wants to hit, Photek, and you can see that he is just outstepping him every time he jumps forward. Angel gets back into the backline, tries to get something onto Abel. But this is where the build of TF and TF's current state kind of comes into effect, right? Abel is not going to be under threat from the TF alone, and he does find himself a brief pocket of time to get something working. Aki gets himself a reset, but it's not the most helpful one. Gonna throw that one out there.
That just hurts. You can't even touch your character. You don't even get to do anything. But it was, again, that kind of rearing head of OMG at this point, something we've been building to, something that Abel has been building to now that he's got 3 items under his belt. And it's NIP with this Baron buff, with this Dragon Soul point, who continuously need to press forward. They have broken open the base of OMG, but they need to start looking at ending the game.
And they will have a couple of extra play patterns to work towards, right? Because you do have the double side laners of NIP. Aki, of course, not going to be able to pick up his own blue buff. Of course, buff sharing is now in the game. That's a thing. It always weirds me out trying to see that. I'm like, where's Ivan? It's not just an Ivan thing anymore. NOP, anyway, pick up that blue buff for Shadow. Again, they have themselves Angel coming back with level 16. So he has that rank 3 of that ultimate, longer range, lower cooldown. Able to join the fight when he wants to. OMG, they're going to have to try and hold on to their last inhib tower. At least they have all their inhibs right now, so they don't have any super minions to worry about.
NIP just going to try to stretch them a little bit thin here, go towards the bottom side with Invincible and try to get one of these inhibs down, get some super minions spawning. We'll see how quickly OMG can kind of assign lanes. They do have a decent amount of wave clear strength here as well through Abel and through Cream, but it's still about those assignments and how quickly NIP want to pull the trigger if they do catch somebody overextended like they have right now. Aki at about half health now just after that one trade, and here comes some inhibs going down. Invincible takes the bottom first. Shadow and Angel will take the mid lane.
Love the coordination from NIP there, though. Votic pulls the ult, chunks people down, holds them around that top side as the two bot side inhibs are falling. And NIP, they are really playing out this game about as cleanly as they can in the game 1.
They're looking really fine right now as well. Votic gonna be engaged on here, did have to flash. They've got Cream locked down though, and that's the single target. He goes golden, got the lightning crash from Abel. And IP looking a little bit scared. Abel goes over Ham. He's looking for some shots though, as now Aki is gone. You got Abel going forward though. He still has that 3-0 spike. He's scary, but Invincible is ending the freaking game right now. He's onto the Nexus as he's fighting away. You got Cream trying to take him out. Abel getting low. Abel gets the wild growth, but Invincible is the game!
NIP slap OMG right in the teeth in game 1. Felt like the early game hadn't snowballed enough, but they get the advantage on Invincible around the map, and they play such a cohesive game. I don't think this is any one person's kind of victory alone, NIP. They were very coordinated around the way that they played around